Good morning, guys. Welcome to Fort Lauderdale Executive, American Airlines Flight 268. I'm just going to walk you through real quickly, how I prepare for a departure in the CRJ. Get inside the airplane here real quick. We've got the ground power and ground air cart attached. This often I set up, my default state is the turnaround state, which has basically has the airplane powered up, but the engine's not running. This ground cart will often be disconnected, so you've got to connect it because otherwise you'll get a fault from the air conditioners. So a couple things I've already done. I preload the fuel in the World Maps page of Microsoft Flight Simulator. 18695 is the amount of fuel we need today. 18691 is block fuel from my SimBrief flight plan. So you put that in. The other couple things you got to do, you've got to hit the stab trim buttons and the mock trim button, and you've got to hit both yaw dampeners when you get in the airplane in this state. The other thing you have to do is turn on the hydraulic power for 3A. That's the one you run on the ground. You got to put on the no smoking sign, and you've got to arm the emergency lights. So we've got all that done. Now we're starting to go through the checklist here to get going. Passenger signs are on, landing level set. Now, how do you set your landing level? You go to your charts, your Navigraph charts, or whatever charts you use. Landing level is on your approach chart. Runway elevation, 58 feet. So then you come over here to cabin pressure, landing level. 3 clicks should be 60 feet. Look here for landing level. There you go. Got your 60 feet. Let's see here.
Fort Lauderdale executive traffic. King Air 3 Tango Whiskey.
I do it the lazy way. Just
runway
hit B.
27. Fort Lauderdale exec direct to LaBelle.
FMS. The inertial reference system is already on. Both are on nav. Radios and nav aids. We'll take a quick look over there in a second. So here we're going to set up what people typically call the FMC. I've got an app on my iPad that allows me to control this with the iPad. So first thing we're going to do, make sure your database is current. There's your date. There's your active database dates, 01 December. So it is current. And you really do want to make sure that it's current because if anything changes and you've got the wrong database in, that's no good. So KFLL is our departure point. We put that in airport. Go to the next page, copy your GNS1 position, hit previous page, and then set position here. And that tells the airplane exactly where you are. And then you go to the flight plan page, type in the departure and destination, KFLL TAPA in this case, put it in your route. This populates everything. Everything looks correct. And then you hit execute. For some reason, the airplane likes to get the perf init data after you've messed with the flight plan, but we're going to see what we get here. Copy perf init data to FMS, and it should populate. And it has, you can see the zero fuel weight, the gross weight, cargo, passengers, all that fun business. Then you want to put in your cruise altitude, which in this particular case is 35,000. Some people put FL350. I find this is just easier. So, alternate cruise altitude. Let's see here. Yeah, this is going to be me sitting around saying for a little while. There it is. Flight level 240 to St. Croix, which is our alternate today. So we're going to execute both of those. Now, you can go through and put in leg winds. And what I mean by that is you look at your Cimbri flight plan, you've got leg winds right here. 210 at 30 at Jamaica, 208 at 32, Beads, 204 at 31. You can go through and do all that. And oftentimes I do, but when I'm either lazy or in a hurry, what I do is I put the average wind correction, which is plus 18 for this flight, and I put in the average ISA, which is the temperature, which is plus 11. So we'll just go over here and put 11 right there. And we'll go P18, P18, P18. It's not really the greatest way to do this, but it's quick. Transition altitude, that's all set. That's all good. Cruise altitude is all good. Now let's go over to the descent. And in the descent, what you want to look for, this is your approach chart. If you have a star, a standard terminal arrival route, you can get it there as well. What you're looking for is your transition level. There's transition level and transition altitude. Transition level is for landing. Transition altitude is for departures. I don't know why on God's green earth they would have different transition altitudes for departures and arrivals. That makes absolutely no sense. It makes less sense than having different transition levels, period. I think the planet should do what the US does. And this isn't me being an arrogant American. I just think that having one standardized flight level around, transition level around the world makes a whole lot of sense. Now, descent info, FS07. We're going to have to look and see where that might be. I would suspect that it's somewhere out around Elopo, which is our transition. It's not Kibor. It's not Emali. That's really kind of unusual. Tell me this is not an RNP approach. Okay, it's not. Well, the reason we gotta get rid of this. Let's go into this here. Type edit the route. And we're just gonna get rid of those two. And then that should give us Elopo straight to, yeah, and we're gonna have to do that in the flight plan for the actual plane as well. Well, we'll come back to this here. Let's go over to flight plan. Let's go to departures and arrivals. Snapper 2 runway 08 left. Let's check the 28 right rather. Let's check the weather because oftentimes they'll put in the wrong weather. Put in the wrong runway.
Winds 220, 14 gusting 23. That's
Lauderdale traffic, Southwest 1857, taxi runway 28 right. Via Tango 1 and Bravo. Lauderdale.
So that we're getting that southwest wind because of the hurricane. So we are going runway 28 right today, which is not standard runway.
Lauderdale traffic, Southwest 1857, holding short runway 28 right, and we'll be taking the active departing to the west on this NAPA 2 departure, Lauderdale.
Okay, note guys, don't ever say on the radio, taking the active. Where are you taking it? Can you leave the active where it is so that the rest of us can use it? First of all, taking the active, you notice he didn't say which runway, right? He said taking the active, departing Snapper 2, blah, blah, blah. If I don't know, I just had to look to see what the active runway was. If you don't tell me taking runway 28 right and you say taking the active, and maybe I've got, the wrong ATIS information, there's all kinds of things that could happen where I might have the wrong information, and you tell me taking the active, there's 4 runways at this airport. The left runway, the right, the north and south runways effectively, and 180 degree reciprocals of both, right? So you tell me taking the active, first of all, I don't know which active you're talking about, and you may have the wrong information. You may think that's the active runway, and it's not. So you say taking the active, nobody knows what you're talking about. Second of all, why are you taking it, and where are you taking it? Are you taking it away? I mean, don't ever say taking the active. That's bad habits of bad piloting. You're not taking the active. I am taking runway 28 right for departure. That's what you say. All right. Now you go to departure arrival index. Let's look at our arrival. We've got the departure set. I am not flying the VOR approach. I am flying the RNAV 07 and via Ilopo. Let me get myself over here a little bit better so you can see this a little bit better. All right. And then we hit execute. Now let's go to the legs page because we are probably going to have a discontinuity. Okay, now the way you deal with this, you see this here, Ilopo, because we had the original flight plan did not have the approach in the flight plan. So it just goes Ilopo ANU, which is the VOR that's on the field. This might not show us the VOR. It doesn't. Let's have a quick look here. VOR, DME runway 7. So ANU is the VOR on the field. 114.5, right? So that's why this has ANU, and then what it originally had, it goes ANU, and then just right to your destination. But now that because I've loaded an approach, it's now got the approach loaded after the original flight plan ended, which ended the ANU. So you take Ilopo, you take this Ilopo here, and copy it by just selecting it, and then you insert it up here, and that eliminates this discontinuity. And now you just go down, and what you want to do is make sure that the sequence makes sense, right? You've got Ilopo, Keyboard, Emali. Let's see. See, now I'm getting a little suspicious. There's going to be FS07, so that's going to change. See, I don't think this is quite right yet. I don't think this is quite right yet. I'm going to execute this just so that
Alright, Slugo, Elopo, Keyboard, Amali. Should be Bopar. Yeah. See, Amali should be the next way. But see, this is why you do this, right? It should be, if you just look at the chart, so let me go back here. Right, so you've got Elopo, Keyboard, Amali, Elopo, Keyboard, Amali. Next should be Bopar, because that's the next fix on your approach. Doesn't say Bopar, does it? Right here it says FS07. Then you've got ANU, which is that VOR again. Then you've got FS07 again, then ANU again, then Amali again, and Bopar. So you're going around in circles. So what I'm looking for right now, Amali, Bopar, then threshold. Yeah, 4.0 threshold, which is right here. 4.0 nautical miles to the threshold, 40 threshold, 40 threshold. So I want this Amali here. So now I've got Elopo, Keyboard, Amali, Bopar, 40 threshold, Elopo, Keyboard, Amali, Bopar, 40 threshold. Then I've got runway 07, then the missed approach. So you want to just look at your chart and make sure everything is in sequence. You don't want to mess around to kind of like, oh, I want to move this one here, this one there, that one there. You want to look for the correct sequence where a waypoint might repeat, right? We saw Elopo several times. And then we saw Amali several times. You want to find where that sequence is correct, like Amali, Bopar, 40 threshold, where those three were together. Elopo, Keyboard, Amali were together. And you want to connect them at a common point, which in this case was Amali. So I'm confident now that that flight plan is correct. Let's go to the index page. Let's go radios. I always put 4643 for my ATC code. Don't care about the nav because right now there's nobody on the there's no ATC available, so we're gonna kick this on, get that open. All right, next thing we want to do, flight ID AAL268. You don't have to do this, I like to. AAL268. All right, flight plan, everything's good. Right. Departure and arrival is all good. I'll do the fixed stuff later. Legs are all good. VNAV is good. Now I want to see on the VNAV, you go all over 3 pages to the descent info, and I want to go look and make sure that that descent info, Elopo 2500, that's where the approach starts for me. That's my transition. Right? Elopo is my transition. The transitions are the furthest points out. So Elopo at 2,500 feet is where I want to be. And that's what it's giving me here, which is awesome. Now, when we get down there, we've got 44.1 miles from Elopo to Keyboard. So I might not want to be at Elopo at 2,500. But at least now I know that's in there. Alright, now let's go back to the VNAV page. Let's go look at Perf Init real quick. Perf Init is still good. Estimated time of departure is right there. What do we want to put for EDT? We'll put 1540. That's our estimated time of departure. So that's going to calculate all of our times for us, which is awesome. All right, now, ladies and germs, we are pretty much ready for push and start. I may just go ahead and record this whole flight just for giggles. Would that be completely boring for you guys? It's like 3.5 hours. All right, now let's get back to our checklists. Checklists are great because they prevent you from forgetting things. Takeoff briefing. Let's look at our takeoff briefing. All right, we're taking off runway 28 right, which is unusual. So we're just going to taxi. I'm going to push taxi this way, Tango 2 Bravo to Bravo 12. Take off 28 right. Here's the departure procedure. It's pretty simple. 28 right is going to be Shells, Jamaica, Beads, Lincoln, Gateway Snapper, right? Read the departure procedure first of all. You've got your airport elevation, your frequencies, transition altitude. This is an RNAV departure. Radar required for jet aircraft only. You want to make sure that you really want to read these notes. Even if you're familiar with the procedure, you want to read them. Accelerate to 250 knots on takeoff. This is just for obstacle notes. You need to be able to climb at 500 feet per nautical mile, which is the way the FAA sets up departures. And obviously, in a twin-engine jet, that's not a problem. This is a jet-only departure procedure, right? So you're not going to have any problem climbing 500 feet per nautical mile in a jet. The reason that's important is if you lose an engine, you might not. If you're at max gross weight, you might not be able to do that. So that's why you want to understand that. Because if you can't make that 500 feet per nautical mile, you might hit something, which is generally not encouraged to hit objects in airplanes. All right, climb at a heading of 276, intercept course 287 to Dreads. So obviously somebody's a hippie around here. Then 322 to Shells, then 014 to Jamaica, or not a hippie. What's the word I'm looking for? There's some Rastafarians writing these. It's funny that the names they give these waypoints. In New York, there's a famous one. I think coming out of JFK, there's a waypoint Bada and there's a waypoint Bing, and it's the Bada Bing departure. Bada Bing, yeah. So it's local FSDOs, the Flight Standards District Office, that writes these and names the waypoints. So a lot of times they'll do it with some humor involved. So basically, climbing a right turn, come around, all good. So the other thing you want to know about the approach, or the departure rather, is the top altitude, which is 4,000 feet. So basically, you want to maintain 4,000 feet until you get to Snapper, and then it tells you get this broken line, and then you're up to 13,000 feet. So you want to put that in right away so you don't forget it, because that's your top altitude for this departure. Top altitude is the highest you can go on the departure. Now, what is part of this departure and what is not part of this departure? Solid black lines are part of the departure. Dotted black lines are not part of the departure. That's part of the extended, I don't know what they would call it, the transition out of the departure. But the departure procedure itself are these solid black lines. You cannot go above 4,000 feet until you cross Snapper. So that's right here. So we got to keep that in mind. All right, so takeoff briefing is good. All right, let's get the APU going. The way we do that, hit the power level, come down here. See, now this is going to show up. You've got your APU stuff showing, and you hit the start button. Yeah, your APU is going to start up. While that's going on, devices are off. I'm going to put the the seatbelt sign on. APU's coming up. So we got to wait for the APU to get to full strength here. While that's going on, I will release the parking brake. I will tell them to... I'm not going to have them pull the chocks just yet. And the reason is because if I tell them to pull the chocks, they'll pull the ground cart and the power cart. And I don't want to do that.
Further execution from Western 1501, passing to number 27 for IS Charlie.
APU's at 100. Alright, so now what we want to do is come down and check the electrics. Alright, APU is running. You can see that here. Engines are not running. And then we hit hit electrics twice, and we've got 26 and 27 volts. That's enough to get us started. It's enough to power the engines up. See, this is a mystery to me. I gotta figure out what that story is on that. Let's get the fuel pumps going. Turn on the hydraulics. Let's get the beacon light on. I'm kind of doing this out of order, but from memory. The windshields are warmed up. The probes are on. I want these numbers going down. I don't like orange numbers. Alright, so let's have a quick look at our checklist. Electrics check. Takeoff data is set. Let's set that. V1 is 149. Rotate 149. V2 plus 10 is 168. That's what we're gonna. That's the speed we're gonna fly after takeoff. Doors. Come down here. Make sure your doors are all closed. Doors are all closed. Beacon is on. Fuel pumps are on. Quantity 18,685 is sufficient. Hydraulic pumps are all on. Parking brake is off. Alright, we're ready to start. I'm going to call for push, but the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the chocks, and that's connected. Those are now disconnected. Checklist. It's cool. You always want your checklist. We like checklists. I like checklists anyway. A lot of people try to do things by memory. Checklists are good. Checklists are good. We're going to start the right engine now. The reason why checklists are good.
Further execution, Western 1501, home
Is
service
because we
27.
tend to forget things. The other thing I want to do. The other thing I want to do is make sure there's nobody to back into here. There is not. Alright. Alright, 20 on the N1, N2 rather.
Further execution, Unicorn, Western 1501, lining up and waiting
Start
number
the left
27.
engine. Now I'm going to turn my lights all on here. Oh yeah, I want to get my display set up. So I like having this on, which gives me this data up here. There's 21 on the N2 on the left engine, so we'll hit that and put that up. And now we're into. Got that engine started. Now what I can do is kill the APU because I don't need the APU because the engines are running. Alright. Alright, seatbelt and no smoking signs are on. We'll arm the thrust reversers. We want the flap set at 8. There's nothing wrong with doing things on a checklist and then looking back and checking them. Generators on auto, electrics checked, bleed valves on auto. Auto. There's nothing wrong with doing things and then looking at the checklist after you do them. Packs are on. Anti-ice, we don't need APUs off. Nose wheel steering armed. So you can do things and then go back and check them, but always make sure that you confirm what you've done with the checklist. That's important. Slats, see, because I've checked I set the flaps already, but now it says slats and flaps. All right, flight controls. We go here to the flight control page, and we move the flight controls, and you can see them moving here on the screen. All right, flight controls are checked. Trims are green. Thrust reversers are armed. Flight instruments checked. Correct. Everything's set there. FMS 1. Brake temps are checked. Those are those right there, and we're ready to taxi, folks. So that's how I get the CRJ ready to rumble. I will check you guys later because I got some other things that I need to do right now. And thanks for watching, and talk later.